hometown stories from the heart of it all. And our folks have a lot to tell. We've got next door neighbors with remarkable lives. We're riding on a story carousel. So sit right back as we hear about their lives. Yeah, home is where our story begins. Families, neighbors, and friends, the love never ends. Right here in Miami Springs. Right here in Miami. And Virginia Gordon's here in Miami Springs.
Hi, I'm Buzz Fleischman and welcome to Hometown Stories. Today we have a true aviation pioneer with us here in Miami Springs, Nikki Jester, who's been here since the 1950s and flew with Pan American World Airways. Today we're sitting in the office of Executive Director Melinda Jester, her daughter. She's sitting right behind the camera making sure that her mother says everything the right way. And Nikki, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here. You've got a lot of history here in Miami Springs, but let's go back to before that. You were raised where?
Stratford, Connecticut.
In Connecticut. And when did you come to South Florida?
1952.
52.
This day, yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a trip before my mom came down, so she worked in both places, both in Rhode Island and in Miami. So when she came down, they came down permanently. We moved down here.
And did you come right into Miami Springs, right off?
No,
Where did you live when you first got here?
somewhere in the middle of Miami.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
It was a really
Not too
small
far-
town.
Right, Flagler and
That's Miami.
downtown Miami. Not quite, but yeah.
Well, we're here at the Curtis Mansion, and you are one of the original members of
Yes.
the Curtis Mansion, and you have been involved in so many things since you've been here. But one of the things that I think would be most interesting for people is that you were a stewardess.
Yes, I was a stewardess before we had the more formal rendition.
The flight attendant.
The flight attendant,
Yeah.
right, yes.
So stewardesses did basically the same thing they do today,
Absolutely,
but people got dressed up in those days.
yes. You dressed to fly. Mhm.
You dressed to fly. So in the 1950s, what were those things you called that went round and round that made the plane go?
Propellers.
Propellers.
Yes,
And so you were before jets
absolutely,
and the propellers.
yes.
So the flights, the planes went a little slower. The flights were a little longer. Where did you fly?
I flew Central and South America, and then transferred to the Pacific and flew to the Orient, Tokyo, and Hong Kong.
Well, those must have been really long flights.
Well, you didn't fly straight. I mean, you
How
stayed
was
in
it?
wonderful places all over the world, and you could only fly, you know, unions, so they could only fly you for so many hours before you got to enjoy first class service in the finest hotels all over the world.
Wow,
Tough to
you're
take.
you're still talking up Pan Am over here.
Oh, you got it.
But you
yeah.
don't say Pan Am. You
Pan
say
American World Airways.
Right.
Yes.
And in fact, you're still a member of World Wings. So tell us, Incorporated. Tell us about what World Wings is.
World Wings is the organization of former flight attendants of Pan American World Airways, Pan Am.
And still
And
active
they're worldwide.
today.
There are over 2,000 members worldwide. We have conventions every year, and all over the world.
Do you still have your original uniforms?
No.
Well,
No, I-
tell us what it was like to be a stewardess. I almost said flight attendant. What was it like to be a
Right,
stewardess
stewardess.
back in those days? What did you have to do?
Just serve the aircraft and make sure you had to. We had training, both for service and for what do you call it?
You had to maintain your weight as well.
Oh yeah, but emergency procedures is what I was
Emergency.
thinking.
Did you have to
Yeah.
birth any babies or something on?
I never had that problem, no. But yes, it happened.
It happened.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm sure on some of those flights. So you flew all over the world. What was your favorite country or countries?
I love Brazil, and I love the language, and so that would be my favorite.
Do you speak any Portuguese?
Falo português? Vio, el vio. Which is similar to Spanish, but it's it's different. And I loved it, yeah.
And did you learn any Spanish as well?
Oh yeah, I had to learn Spanish to fly. I mean, that was my language.
Because you were...
1 year of Spanish, high school Spanish. And that, I found that when airlines or anything else,
Yeah.
they need people, they will overlook certain things. So the experience was winning in spots, but I qualified, I had enough Spanish to be able to get on and say an announcement in Spanish and procedures for safety, etc.
And you did the whole thing
Oh,
with,
yeah.
with exits and everything else.
Absolutely.
How long were you flying with them?
3 years.
3 years. What did you do after that?
Got married.
You got married.
Yeah.
Oh, and you had a
Child?
child.
Yes, my daughter.
Well, where was this child conceived, Nikki Jester?
You want the details?
I want some details, yes.
It's a very
You know, it's not a normal
Don't
question
lie.
that we ask. It's not, you heard Melinda in the background here. Not a normal question that we ask, but I'm thinking, you know, come on. You're a friend, you've
I'm
got a
going to
good sense
sing
of
to you.
humor.
Ah, sweet mystery of life. At last I found you.
I will skip that
Speak to
question.
her in German and maybe it will come back.
You can.
What was that?
Und Gespräche und der kleine Kinder.
9.
Wer hat der unperfekte?
Jawohl.
Ah, okay, so no, we're not going there. We're not going there.
Koblenz.
Koblenz, Munich.
I'm told about a Rhine cruise you took on your honeymoon.
Really?
Really, yes, you were there.
You know, and she skipped right over Rio as well.
She skipped over Rio.
She
What-
fell
what-
in love in Rio and didn't mention it.
Fell in love in Rio? How glamorous! How romantic!
Oh,
You fell
absolutely.
in love with your husband in Rio?
No, that was a different.
Oh, not your husband. Sorry. Oh my God.
I
Am
don't
I
know.
helping?
It's all coming out here today. I'm not in control anymore.
Apparently.
Tell us about all your paramours, why don't you?
Well, how much time do you
I don't. We don't have enough time apparently for that. But
Oh, okay.
so it's obvious that your daughter's here in the room with us. She's yelling from behind the scenes over here.
She's a bad, naughty
She's
girl.
a bad girl.
Bad girl.
Oh boy.
But I love her.
Oh yeah. Well,
She's my pride and joy.
she is.
Yes.
She's our pride and joy in Miami Springs as well,
Thank you.
because she is our executive director here at the Glenn Curtis
Yes,
Mansion.
she is. Yes, she is.
And and you were kind of a joiner when you lived here. When you live here, you still live here,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
far from the Curtis Mansion.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
you always used to come here, and Melinda also tells us stories about when she was a child, when she was here chasing the flamingos
Oh, yeah.
and
Ducks.
skinny dipping in the pool.
No, not my child.
Oh, not my child. Okay, good. Thank you for catching me on that.
Yeah, right.
Why would I say something like that? I
I
have no idea. I was just having fun over here. But you
And enjoy yourself.
yeah, and you joined a lot of clubs as well.
I was a joiner. I never thought of myself as that, but yeah, I ended up belonging to just about everything locally.
In fact, you have your own parking space behind the women's club.
Yes, I do.
It's just amazing because no one has their own parking space in Miami Springs.
And it says reserved for Nikki Jester.
She's very
Member
proud of
since
that.
1962.
Member since so this is
1962.
this is almost 50 years.
Yeah.
Almost 50 years a member of the Miami Springs Women's Club.
Yes.
A great women's club. I too am a member.
And we are federated.
With
Over
with the
2,000
Women's Club
members,
Federation.
No, it's World Women's. I'm kind of confused here, but yeah, with General Federation of Women's Clubs. Very proud of that.
Well, it's important
Yes.
because it's a group that gives back to the community, and you were
And
associated
worldwide.
and worldwide too, and you were associated with other groups here in Miami Springs as well,
Yeah,
with the Hibiscus Fine Arts Guild,
right. We formed it. Mhm.
because you're a painter,
Yes, I'm an artist. Yes.
an artist as well. You also a member of the Miami Springs Historical Society
Yes, sir.
of long standing.
Yes.
The history, this also is part of the history of Miami Springs. You are part of the history of Miami Springs. So, you know, I know that you flew with, we're going to jump back and forth here. You flew with a lot of interesting people on your flights. Who can you name any of the people? Do you remember anybody maybe that have, you know, come on to you or kissed you in some way, like any famous movie stars? Like
Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum, okay.
And you know, he's from Connecticut, from Bridgeport, as a matter of fact. My next town from where I grew up, Stratford.
Tell us about that.
What, Stratford?
No, Robert, no, Robert, we don't care about Stratford. Tell us about Robert Mitchum.
He was cute.
Yeah.
Yes, he leaned over and kissed me, as I recall. Yeah.
He just leaned over and kissed you?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, wait, when I say leaned over. We're talking on an airplane, kiddo. On an airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
That's
pretty
right,
thrilling,
he did,
huh?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
Well, he was trying to impress the crowd around him.
Oh.
So I was the nearest girl.
He was,
Yeah.
I think he just kind of
And he
had
was
his
awesome.
eye on you from day one, as soon as he got onto the flight.
And it was fine with me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I liked him.
Bob Mitchum,
Yeah.
big handsome guy, movie star
Yes. From Bridgeport, Connecticut.
from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
From right next to my hometown.
Well, you're still involved here. You go to all the meetings of the Curtis Mansion. You were one of the original members of Curtis Mansion, Inc.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about those early days when after the arson fires of the 1990s. See, in a quick history, the home here, the 14,600 square foot home in Miami Springs that Glenn Curtis occupied, started in 1925, finished a year or so later. Lived here, he lived in the building until 1930, where he passed from complications of an operation.
Right.
His
Back
wife,
in Rochester. Mhm.
right, his son and wife, Lena, lived here until the early 50s when it was sold to a hotel consortium who had it until the late 1980s, and then it was abandoned.
Yes. And all of the sort of buildings on either side of the main house, which is where we are, were all gone. They were all, for a while it was a school. I think that was part of what was going on here too.
It was the
They
Japanese
were
steakhouse.
Well,
Right,
that was fantastic, yes.
Yeah.
And the King Arthur's Court was absolutely the best here, anywhere in the world, first class.
People came here from all over.
All over.
Oh yeah.
They were prime rib, noted for their prime rib.
Mm. They had that huge
Wonderful.
Olympic-sized swimming pool as
And
well.
the wonderful orchestra. Brown.
Les Brown?
No. Anyway, his.
Where'd you meet Dad?
Oh yeah. Oh, did you meet your husband here? He was a pilot, or he sold airplanes.
He was in aviation sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you met him here?
By the
Here.
pool. By the pool.
Here or by the?
Right by the
It was
pool.
by the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were acquainted, and then he came by. We were invited, another lady and I, to come swim here, where Stewart is living in the area. And he was a passenger on the aircraft, invited us, because he was living in the villas, which was part of what this all is,
Right.
and the Miami Springs villas, and invited us to come and have lunch and a swim in the swimming pool. He was a passenger on my roommate's flight. She worked for Northeast at the time, and he asked her where she was from, and she said Boston, and he said, you like living in Miami? And she didn't. So he invited her and me as a roommate to come for a swim and have lunch here at the Miami Springs Villas.
Innocent enough.
This was a fantastic place with the outer buildings and the King Arthur's Court, which was very, very famous. And they had the singing violins, and very first class place to come to. And it was huge. It had buildings on both sides of this structure, which was a hotel, 2-story, on both sides of this structure on the golf course. Very popular with the aviation community.
And a
well
destination and it was party central, wasn't it?
Absolutely. King Arthur's Court had the full orchestra and was very well known. And they had their own music label. And Mr. Brell was, I can't remember his first name, but he was the man later. And it was a wonderful time.
Then in the 1990s, when everything kind of went sour, the place was abandoned. Kids would come here, especially Halloween, because there were rumors of it being
Right,
haunted.
haunted, yeah.
Yeah. But there were fires that people set, and there are pictures of the great blazes that were here. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, a group formed, Curtis Mansion Incorporated, to get the building and the history back up to speed,
Right.
back up to the way it was.
And Glenn Curtis, of course, was important in all of this. He was pilot's license #1 for the U.S., and that was his, aviation was his love.
That's
And,
right.
and this is what he built, was this Curtis Mansion, and lived here, and he lived in Rochester as well, back and forth.
He was a really fast human being. He
pilot's
initiated-
license #1
Pilot's license #1. That #1. That's pretty cool.
for the U.S.
Yeah. He had the first city-to-city air flight. He was the fastest man in the air. We believe he had the first air mail from the governor of New York in Albany when he flew to New York City to give that letter to the mayor of New York. He had so many firsts and so many inventions. A hero for his day.
Absolutely.
And for you and the small group of people that helped to get it together, we thank you for preserving that history for us, because it's very important in a small town what we have done here. So we give a kiss and a hug to the city of Miami Springs.
And we appreciate it.
We appreciate
Loving
it.
Miami Springs as I do too.
So tell us what you love about this town.
Well, it's small, it's contained, we're the center of Dade County, and yet we're in a big city, which is great. You know, everything's convenient, and yet we have that small town atmosphere, which is also
That's very
precious
important.
to us.
Oh yeah, and
Our history is, and there is so much history in this area, because we're the center of Dade, we're right on the airport, so we're very involved here with aviation. And Glenn Curtis, of course, that was his love.
we are at the heart of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And a beautiful area. Miami Springs is a lovely town. I'm very prejudiced about that. And I'm sure you are.
I know you love, and we all love our town.
Yeah, it's great.
That's why we're doing these stories.
Yeah.
So we can capture some of that history. And the people, because we've got so many great, interesting people here. We are going to show a picture of you in the calendar. You were a calendar girl. You were on the
Oh,
World
my
Wings
word.
calendar as well.
Whirlwind.
So we're going to show a picture of you with a small, with a young man.
A minor.
A minor.
One of our unaccompanied minors.
I think you're a purser then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to say to people who in the future would think about either moving here or what you want to say about Miami Springs?
I'm very prejudiced. I think this is the most wonderful town in the world. We have everything we need right here. We're central, we're in a big city, yet we're not. We're contained and sort of small town, but I think Miami Springs is one of the best places in the world you could live.
And one of the reasons for that are because of people like you who join, who are
Participate.
involved, who
Yeah.
participate in making this community the special community that it is.
Thank
So
you.
Nikki Jester, thank you so much for being here and for kind of growing up. Did you ever grow up, really?
What's that?
You never grew up. I know, I never grew up either.
I mean,
That's
cave
okay.
and everything like that? No,
Yeah.
no.
We're in the same club.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you very much for being on Hometown Stories. It's my pleasure to talk with you today. I'm Buzz Fleischman, and for myself and Anna Hume, my co-host and producer of the show, thank you. We'll be looking forward to more Hometown Stories very shortly.
Families, neighbors, and friends, the love never ends right here in Miami Springs. Right here in Miami, and Virginia Gardens, here in Miami Springs.